Welcome to It Buttplug, a new show on the Buttpluggin with qDot channel. In this show, we'll be striving to answer the age-old question, are video games art? Now, as we all know, much like cakes, games can only be art if they are erotic. In this show, we'll be recontextualizing game mechanics by hooking games up to hardware like this. We'll be using software like the Buttplug game vibration router, as well as just hacky little scripts that watch memory spaces in games in order to take their information, be it vibration, score, or otherwise, and send it to sex toys just to see what happens. Then we'll rate the game based on how well it does as a sex toy controller. Now, not all games were meant to be sex toy controllers. In fact, almost no games were meant to be sex toy controllers. Therefore, we're going to have to look at game mechanics and recontextualize them from how do you get the highest score, or how do you win the game, to how do you best control a toy with this game mechanic. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. Now, for those of you that are wondering, who is this guy and why is he hooking up butt plugs to video games? Hi, I'm qDot. I'm an engineer that's worked in robotics and video games and a whole bunch of other kinds of development, as well as being on reverse engineering projects, including the Microsoft Kinect, Novant Falcon, and Emotive EEG. However, what I'm really known for is working with sex tech. For the past 13 years, I've run a blog at metafetish.com covering DIY sex tech, open source sex tech, and regular commercial sex tech too. I've also worked on reverse engineering sex toys so that people can use them however they might be interested in. That project's at buttplug.io, and the software from that will be used in this video series. Now, one of the first sex tech projects I ever did was hooking up a vibrator to an Xbox controller in 2005 in order to make a somewhat silly way to explore games as haptic spaces. Now hardware is better, games are better, and it's time to bring that project up to date, and that's what this series is. Now, enough about me, let's get to the games. For our first episode of It Buttplug, we're going easy mode. That's right, Rez. A new version of Rez just came out, but the problem is, it does not work with its own vibrator. This is the original Rez TranceVibrator from 2003, I happen to have one, and today we're going to make it work with Rez Infinite to make it butt plug like it has never butt plugged before. Now, to understand my excitement about all of this, you might want a bit of background on what Rez is. So here's the recipe. Take a Japanese guy, Tetsuya Mizuguchi. Now take some early video game shooters that influenced him. Then throw in through Love Parade and Burning Man, and I mean like late 90s Burning Man, not the goddamn $600 a ticket quote-unquote protest against capitalism it is today, where everyone goes to vape with Grover Cleveland. Then add a whole bunch of Kandinsky and techno and God knows what else for influences. Then let him drive his own video game project for the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I bet this is going to be some sort of like crazy metaphysical synthetic techno rave deal, ding ding ding, you are right on the money. Rez is a Rails-based shooter where your actions add to the music, and the music relates to the world, and everything mashes together into a big old pile of beats and feels, and it is fucking wonderful. Now, all of this is great from an audio-visual perspective, but there are more senses than just seeing and hearing, and if you're trying to make a synesthetic game, you want to trigger as many senses as possible. So enter the Rez Vibrator. Developed by game peripheral company ASCII, the TranceVibrator was released alongside Rez and plugged into the USB port of the PlayStation 2. Rez could detect the hardware and send control information to it, producing deeper vibrations than you could get with a gamepad. According to Mizuguchi, the vibrator was supposed to go in your shirt pocket. Of course, the internet had other ideas. In a post on the blog Game Girl Advance, Jane Pinker detailed using the device while her partner played the game, thus turning the TranceVibrator into an early example of emergent game-driven sex technology. After that, USB drivers were written for the toy, allowing PC control. I actually taught myself how to work with USB in order to get my own drivers working with it, and here I am today. Now, fast forwarding to September 2017, Rez Infinite has been released for the PC and consoles. It contains the original Rez with a new level and VR capabilities added on. Rez Infinite comes with an option for TranceVibrator mode, which will allow you to control all of the other controllers hooked to your PC, so they'll all vibrate while the game is being played. But the original Rez TranceVibrator, it gets no love. So how are we going to fix this? Well, we'll be using the Game Vibration Router. The Game Vibration Router is a piece of open source free software that comes with the Buttplug app suite. This software allows you to reroute game vibrations to whatever device you may have hooked up that the Buttplug Intimate Hardware Control Library controls. Usually this is sex toys, but for the Rez TranceVibrator, we can make an exception. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the TranceVibrator hooked up to our PC here. Uh-oh, that's going to be a fucking problem. So the Rez TranceVibrator is an old device and it has some USB problems in it that will not allow it to work with Windows 10. If you want to know about the nitty-gritty parts of that, I'll be going over this in the TranceVibrator teardown and analysis video that I'm doing later. But for now, just know that it doesn't work in Windows 10. However, it does work in Windows 7. So if we go ahead and plug in the vibrator, there we go, the drivers have been found. Now a couple of things to note here. First off, I'll be using a pre-release version of the GVR that has capabilities for the TranceVibrator and some extra graphing utilities in it. This will not be in the release version when this video comes out, but expect them in there soon. Also, this won't really contain a tutorial about how to use the GVR. If you'd like to see that, check out our YouTube video or our tutorial at Buttplug.world. Okay, now that we've shown how the hardware works, let's get all of this up and running. So we bring up the game vibration router, and we'll search for our devices. Now, you might notice there's two TranceVibrators listed here. Now, there is the original TranceVibrator, and this little thing over here is the DRMN, Drummond TranceVib. This was made in about 2006, 2007. It is a DIY version of the TranceVibrator. Runs basically the same firmware, identifies as the same device, but it will actually run with a replaceable modular bullet vibe. So the nice thing about this is this will vibrate much easier than this. This actually has a huge motor in it that takes a second to spin up. This will vibrate pretty much whenever. So this actually shows vibration a little bit more, but functionally they are the same toy. And I'll talk more about that in the teardown video. So now that we've got those scanned for and selected, we can bring up Rez. Okay, and we can refresh our process list, find our Rez process right there, attach to it, and it is now ready to control toys. Okay, so let's just play the first area and see what happens. Okay, there we go. We've got a little bit of vibration going on. So whenever the controller vibrates, our program catches the commands that the code sends to the controller and also sends them off to the toys over here, as you can see them vibrating. Whoa, whoa. And so, as you can see, like, whenever we change levels, that really seems to be when the big vibrations happen, but other than that, it's kind of actually pretty boring. The only time we get vibrations is when we shoot something, or once again, when we change levels. So let's see what we can do about that. Okay, so now we're back over here on my more powerful Windows 10 box to see if we can actually make those vibrations a little bit better. So first off, we attach to the process over here. We can bring up this experimental vibration screen that I have. This actually will visualize the vibrations coming from the game. The top line is the more rumbly, stronger vibrator, and the lower line is the high frequency vibrator. So let's go ahead and get Rez started here. And sure enough, we can actually see there are the vibrations, and they aren't super strong. We're only seeing them come up to about half the line, and they only vibrate whenever you hit an enemy, basically. And also, due to the fact that I'm recording, sometimes my timer is actually missing some of them. Now we can see that the level change does actually cause a pretty massive change in the vibration level there. But still, overall, this is pretty boring. There's a lot of gaps between those points. So how can we fix that? If we go to controls, we notice that by default, the vibration's only at 2. So we can crank that up to 4. Let's go back and see what that does. Okay, well now those spikes are much, much larger, and that's going to help us for mapping vibration to the TranceVibrators. But even so, there's still huge gaps in between there because it's only vibrating whenever I shoot an enemy or whenever I change levels, and that's just not happening nearly enough right now. So what can we do to fix that? So if we go back to controls and go to TranceVibration, we notice it's off right now. So TranceVibration means that if you have an extra gamepad hooked up and it's active, it will cause that gamepad to vibrate. And it'll actually vibrate in a different pattern than the main controller, so you get way more vibration out of it. Not only that, the game vibration router actually muxes all of the gamepads together. I was lazy and didn't actually divide them up, so it just takes vibration from all of the gamepads and sends it all to whatever hardware is hooked up. So that means that you're going to get the vibration from both the main gamepad and the TranceVibrator controlled gamepad. So we can turn that up too, the same way we do with the regular vibration. And I've got a second gamepad hooked up now and active, and let's see what happens. Okay, I had to do a quick restart of the game because when you turn on TranceVibration mode, it gets a little angry if you don't have all your gamepads hooked up, but now we do. So now we can go ahead and hook up to our Rez process again. Go over to the vibration screen, and let's see what happens when we have all of this stuff on. So there you go. You can actually see that when I hold down the A button to do a lock onto the enemies, it just keeps vibration going in the other controller there. And since that's going to the GVR, that will send that vibration to whatever we have hooked to the GVR. So now that we've proven that works, let's actually hook some other stuff up to the GVR. I'm scanning here, and I've got a couple of Levin's toys, a Dummy, which is a magic wand type toy, and a Hush, which is just a butt plug. So now those are selected, and whenever the game vibrates, these toys will also vibrate. So the Dummy's a little powerful. And the difference here is now instead of the game going with the game vibrating whenever I hit the A button, now it's going with the beat to the secondary controllers, as you can probably hear, and probably can't hear my voice anymore. Anyways, now that we've proven that works, let's go see what happens on the Windows 7 box with the TranceVibrators, since that is our goal. And sure enough, there we go. If I hit the A button now, which is what locks on, that will actually cause the controller to vibrate right now. Or will cause the TranceVibrator to vibrate right now. And that's way more vibration than we were getting the first time we played this. Now, of course, my Windows machine's not real happy about this. My Windows 7 machine's a little bit underpowered, but this still proves the point that we now have a TranceVibrator running with Rez Infinite. So there you have it. Rez Infinite working with the TranceVibrator and other hardware. But does that answer the question, will it butt plug? Damn right it does. It's Rez. I probably wouldn't be doing what I do today without having the synesthetic video game crazy immersive influence that was Rez. So really, I didn't even have to do anything to the game to change mechanics or make anything work differently. I just had to turn on the TranceVibrator option that was already there. So really, Rez already was butt pluggable, and now it's like double butt pluggable. So that means if we're answering the question of, is Rez art, then Rez is actually double art. I'm not sure how to deal with that, especially for our first episode. So I guess I'm starting on a high note here, and it's probably going to be down here from here on out. We shall see. Join us for our next episode. And please like and subscribe so I have some motivation to keep doing this. Till later, keep butt plugging.